Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Beyond Education, Early Childhood Weekly Bites. Now this week, I'm very excited to share with you something that I'm really passionate about, and that is the relationships with the different stakeholders within early childhood. So that includes children, we have colleagues, families, and also with your director or your supervisor. I'd just like to begin by doing a recap of the previous weeks on the topics that we've covered. So we have actually spoken about being aware of your emotions in the first episode. So if you have missed that, please go back and have a look at that. In the second episode, we have actually talked about being able to articulate your emotions and your feelings. Now, in this episode, I would like to talk to you about the key relationship with young children. Now, many of you would have entered the early childhood profession wanting to create or make a difference in the lives of the children that you work with. You're very likely to want to have a good and strong relationship with the children that you work with, needing to perhaps feel satisfied at the end of the day that you've done something really meaningful. However, in reality, this might not be really possible because some children come with certain background or issues that are preventing them to have that relationship with you. So if you've worked in this sector for a while, you might know that there are children with additional needs, and children with additional needs might present with difficulty in making connections with somebody else, either be an educator or with a child. So in this scenario itself, you might find that it's very hard for you to build that strong relationship with a child, to understand his or her needs, and likewise to be able to have that reciprocal relationship that you perhaps would desire to have with a normal functioning child. And in another scenario could be a child with challenging behavior. So somebody who perhaps are going through some issues in their families, in their background, that is causing behaviors to be really hard to manage in class. They might be defiant, they might be acting up in different ways in class, making your way of running the class really hard. And you might struggle with that because you would like to include this child, but sometimes you would have difficulties of needing to separate the child for the safety of others, or in order to spend a bit of time with this child one-on-one, but also being mindful of your time constraint in class. What is going to happen is then that the educators might fall into this dip of having that chronic stress of feeling the feelings of feeling overwhelmed when you're coming to work and thinking about this child that is really hard to manage, or this child with additional needs that is really hard for you to build a curriculum on and to carry out and see the progress that you would normally be wanting to see in a normal functioning child. So what do we do in this instance? So I would suggest that you work with your early child team to come up with an approach of coming up with an individual plan for these children, and have very consistent and clear expectations of what to do in each situation. So that takes quite a bit of time to just nut this out with your team, talk it through, make sure that different educators on different shifts, or even casual members that comes in to replace you, are aware of how to be interacting with the child to get the best benefits out of what you've put in place. And also, I would suggest building that one-on-one relationship, go small and intimate with the child, having that one-on-one time with the child at different pockets of time during the day might actually help to take the pressure off. And also be aware of your emotions. All of us would have our limits, and our day might look quite different depending on what your home life or your day's been. Maybe you've got a sick child at home, or you're battling with some illness yourself and are finding it hard to pull through a whole day of being supporting a child with either additional needs or with challenging behavior. Remember to speak to your team and being able to articulate those emotions and just use words to express yourself by saying that, look, I'm feeling quite exhausted from this. Can you actually take over for 15 minutes? Or I need to tap out here at this moment. Would you mind sending in for me to run this group time? So I think it's important to have a group team dynamics and a group team support for anyone that is working with children with additional needs or children with challenging behavior. And just remember, be aware of yourself on this well-being scale. Are you sliding towards burnout or are you moving towards better well-being? And as you put all these things in place and work with families on setting achievable, measurable goals. So don't set goals that are really too big that you can't see. So maybe even, for example, if the child is being very challenging or it's really hard to communicate, even having eye contact, even setting that up as a goal is really helpful in my experience. And you might be able to articulate that to get families to support you in that, like at drop-off time, maybe to have that one-on-one if parents could actually model that, or be even helping and guiding the children in speaking to you by just having the eye contact. I think that really helps. Remember to support each other on your team this week, and I hope that your week teaching will be a great one this week, that you would have put some of these different tips into practice. And I'd like to hear from you and see you next week as we speak about relationships on other stakeholders. See you. Bye.